We are live at City Hall. Here's the sister cities, I believe. It says how many miles to each one from Afghanistan. And it is my pleasure to be able to bring to you this live LGBTQIA plus commissioners meeting for August. It's a monthly meeting, and it starts at 6:30. It's just about now. Here we are at City Hall. We're gonna go through screening, and I'll be right back.
You got phone numbers for me, right?
I was trying to discuss with.
No. Was I supposed to get phone numbers?
Maybe. You got phone numbers.
Yes, I have the list. I just didn't think to get their phone numbers. I've never really dealt with virtual participants before.
Because of their
Yeah, so I can do this before the meeting starts, but I feel like afterwards it's gonna be a little
and they can't
hard to do.
Why don't we just let anybody who has a phone number in, and then if they
You were on the OPO call on Monday.
start speaking,
Yeah, thank you for being on that call. And I hope, the next time that we have a call like that, we need more people on that call. I thought there would be like about 100 people or so, and I was really surprised. It was like more staff than us. Like, I don't have the hard count. I asked them for a copy of the
You're good.
recording.
I thought they were gonna
They
like.
said part of it recorded.
I have seen it nowhere, and I emailed directly and asked for a copy of it from my city email. They still haven't brought it back to me. So,
I mean, it's the culture of Austin government to lie and abuse people. It's a culture now.
Yeah.
Like, it's 50 years now, 100
Yeah.
years they've been doing this crap. So, like, they keep lying. And why do they do it? Because people with less principles and ethics don't hold them accountable. Like, they told they told you council, APD, the AP, or the Robin and Henderson, that they were going to update the public on what happened.
it was the first time that I heard anything. And remember we had that meeting in April.
And they said they were going to update y'all, and they didn't. And so because nobody holds them accountable to even what they say.
Yeah, well, and what I tell them is, look, we've been appointed by the mayor of the council. So if you're going to sit here and I expect reporting commission a little bit more direct communication. No, what do they always say? Remember the public.
There's a cover-up, and you being a former police officer, you know when you see a cover-up going on, and it's affecting our community. We got people being dumped in the river. We got women being raped by police, and of course that they can't help us because it's all they're part of the smokescreen. That layer of accountability doesn't do anything different. They don't do anything. And every commission gives a recommendation that the city pretty much ignores.
That's why I asked
So
that
it's just
question.
like-
That's why I asked how many of those actually get taken up, and because I had no idea they were like tracking that, but I still didn't get a definitive answer. Like
They said they promised y'all stuff. Did they give it to you? No.
I've got it yet.
That's a problem.
But it's Monday, so they've got until the end of the week.
Okay.
There we go, yes.
Well, thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, yeah,
for
Rose.
being on that call.
And what was your name? Catherine. There was a Catherine something.
Sergeant Catherine, she's good.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna leave you unmuted on our end, but if you could just mute yourself on your phone without pressing *6, that would be good, so that you're able to speak when I call on you.
Okay, so just confirming you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can hear you
Thanks for
too.
coming. Thanks for signing up. Just wanted to clarify, are y'all speaking on like something that's on the agenda? I saw y'all signed up to speak for general public communication, which is for stuff that's like not on the agenda.
So they're not having public speaking today?
There is, yes.
gotta be about the
Y'all can
agenda.
re-sign up to speak if it's for an agenda item. I just wanted to make
I don't
sure.
even know the agenda.
budget
I
and
just
then
know
the- Is the budget on there? Or
The budget is on the
legislature-
agenda.
legislature?
What's up?
And the public safety on there? Not really.
Like, there's a few different items for public safety. Usually the speakers sign up, you either sign up to speak for a specific agenda item or for general communication, which is for something that's like not covered on the agenda. So it sounded like y'all were talking about community safety, and we have a few different community safety items, so I
So it's
just,
probably blend in then, with what's going on.
I was trying to think about the legislator and then the public safety.
okay, did you,
I'm continuing the
budget.
conversation I've
Like,
been
isn't
having.
the budget?
Yeah, absolutely.
The budget's gonna.
Yes, yes, the city's budget, is that what y'all are talking about? Like the city budget or we have a item about the conference for criminal justice professionals, APD responses to commissioners' questions. Is it more of like a general
Is that
community
from last
safety?
time? They're gonna respond to
Okay, that's the one we would like to speak.
Okay, I'll go ahead and write them that y'all are going to be speaking on. That's the APD responses to commissioner questions then?
about the trans women thrown down on the ground. that we found.
Those related to that. So, okay, I'll go ahead and rewrite that so y'all are registered to speak on item 5 instead of in general then.
Thank you.
Yeah, good.
I mean, there's so many correlations of a lot of stuff. It talks about the budget, talks about.
No, it's like it all blends in. Like they spend money on cops or violating our rights, and then they spend money on OPM that doesn't care. And then the CRPRC is a joke. But you got 3 or 4 cops, and there's a couple of them over here. I need a different.
Alright, y'all.
Sign it.
Join us, but we're gonna get into it here. It is 6:32 on August 18th. This is the regular meeting of the LGBT Quality of Life Advisory Commission. And we're gonna start with a few points of privilege. First of all, happy Austin Pride Week, y'all. Less exciting, Toma change. So this is our how far out do we need to post things rule. And we wanted to let y'all know that we need to start posting agendas and back up with more time before meetings because of a rule change. So new rule mandates that there must be 3 full business days between posting and the meeting date, i.e. for Monday meeting, and no holidays in between. We must post the agenda on Tuesday, the week before. So it's going to be a lot sooner, which also means if you're providing agenda items and you have your second, or if you're providing working group updates, we need those sooner than we would have historically needed them. Okay?
Can I ask you a question?
I don't want to, but I'm happy to answer
Okay,
it later.
okay, that's fine.
Sorry, Gary. And then just gonna pass it to Kitty to talk about a few things real quick in points of privilege before we get into public communication.
Thank you, Chair Quinn. I just wanted to take a moment before we do get started, as I know we do have a couple of conversation pieces that are on our agenda today that might be a little emotional or might drive some feeling. And just feeling like it's really important for us to kind of drown in some operating agreements and group norms. I just wanted to share some that I know I use frequently when facilitating. And also give us space to contemplate if there's any extras that we want to have for ourselves. But no matter what, just staying open, staying receptive, committing to risk-taking and sharing your opinions, assuming positive intent from anyone who is sharing, and also listening to understand and with patience. As we're sharing our experiences, I think it's also great to consider using I statements, really speak from the personal perspective, and also acknowledge your own boundaries, acknowledge what you need to feel safe, and what you need in order to feel grounded, and take the time to differentiate between opinion and also informed knowledge. So just a couple of points. I know there's probably many, but ultimately we just want this to continue to be a safe space for us to have dialogue, for us to share our experiences, and for us all to work together toward our collective goals.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Rocio is literally coming from the Capitol right now, straight to this meeting. So just an update there. I think we have everyone else. Brian, do you want to do a quick roll call, and then we'll go into public communication?
Vice Chair McClellan.
Present.
Chair Coyne.
Present.
Commissioner Rivas.
Present.
Commissioner Bandit.
Here.
Commissioner Benson.
Present.
Commissioner Newsom.
Present.
Commissioner Neal.
Present.
Commissioner Brown.
I'm here.
Commissioner Kruger.
Present.
Commissioner Perez, Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Davis.
Here.
And Commissioner Trevino. He's asking about his,
You do public communication.
yes, moving on into public communication. We do not have anybody signed up to speak under general public communication. Moving on to agenda items. Speaking on agenda item number 6, we have Richard Martin.
And just a reminder that speakers will have 3 minutes. Ryan will time everyone. Thank you.
Hi Commissioners, my name is Richard Bondi, my pronouns are he, him. I'm a gay male and currently the chair of the Commission on Aging and the vice chair of the Joint Inclusion Committee, which I'm sure all of you know is made up of the 11 Quality of Life Commissions, of which this commission is a member. In the past, I was on the Embrace Austin board. I co-founded the Austin LGBT Elder Task Force, and then Rainbow Connections, ATX. This year I'm the Pride co-chair, and this evening I'm speaking solely for myself. So the theme for the conference, the 4th World LGBTQI Conference for Criminal Justice Professionals, that just added 10 seconds to my time, was Bridging the Gap, with the goal of creating sustainable and positive relationships between the LGBTQI community and criminal justice organizations. To a large part, that goal was furthered during the conference, except for incidents in one of the panel discussions. The moderator for that panel, Jeremy Teal, began by explaining that the conversation—
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, what number are you supposed to be working? I thought you said number 6. That's not what this is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay, but
Number 6, discussion regarding the conference.
am I looking at the wrong thing?
You might be looking at minutes from last meeting.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, Gary.
I'm sorry, I'm very sorry.
And just, so did you pause the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Get that 8 seconds.
Back to it? Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
So that goal was furthered during the conference, except for incidents in one of those panels. So they began the panel saying that it might be charged. The goal was to have open, honest discussion to hear the different concerns of the community and try and bridge the gap between the community and the criminal justice system. So I really, really don't want this to sound confrontational, but there's a narrative going around, and I don't want this to sound like I'm blaming or anything else. There's a narrative going around that doesn't appear, from my recollection, to tell the whole story about that. So, Commissioner was on the panels in the session. And during that discussion, when a trans police officer from San Francisco shared how they identified, that police officer felt that Commissioner Coyne invalidated that identity. And that's where things took an unfortunate turn. So I'm sure all of us can relate to the emotion of feeling that our identity has been judged and the visceral reaction that that can create. So now for many years, the LGBT community has been in different factions. Back in the 60s and 70s, the federal government actually actively tried to sow dissent between lesbians and gays. And it took us decades to recover from that. I don't expect that we're all ever going to agree. I don't know that we want that. We all don't want to have the same perfect mindset because then we don't have any diversity. But I hope that we can come together and discuss differences and find common ground for a path forward. After all, LGBTQI officers are part of our community, and any divisions weaken us. We have battles on larger fronts that impact us all, and we're going to be better at fighting those battles if we're united. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond.
To speak on
police officer's pride alive. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an out and proud trans woman. Kara Cohen has embellished what occurred at the LGBTQ+ conference for Trump. Despite their assertion that they were there to have an open and honest dialogue, conduct instead showed that they were there to dominate the conversation and put their anti-police bias on full display. Kara Cohen minimized the experiences of LGBTQ members of public safety. Kara Cohen then told a group of LGBTQ people how we identify, telling us that we identify more as being police officers than we do with our LGBTQ identities. As an open and out trans woman who fought for her gender identity, who lives now in a country where her identity is under attack, and has to live every day knowing that my rights could be stripped away from me at any moment, I was justifiably shocked when advocates of the LGBTQ community thought that it could tell a room full of queer people how we identify. As a community, we have fought for years for the right to self-identify. And while many outside our community are trying to police our identities, no member of our community should engage in that same identity policing. Just because we are police officers does not mean we do not have the right to our identities as queer people. Did I scream? No, I most certainly did not. Did I say BS in a loud voice? Yes. It was a reaction to identity policing and necessary to be heard in a large room without a microphone. I did state that we as members of law enforcement are yelled at all the time. When Sheriff Coyne said that they were there to have an open dialogue, I did voice my opinion that, to me, that did not appear to be the case. I did state these in a loud voice, as Sheriff Coyne, at one point, indicated that they could not hear me. After this, I did leave the room, as I felt the panel discussion was not a discussion, and that nothing productive would come from further participation. The real issue here is that a member of the LGBTQ community felt that they could walk into a room, voice their biased views about that group, and then police the identities of members of the queer community. We are not just uniforms, we are people with lived experiences. And I invite all of you to get to know us as the human beings we are. You might just find that because of our queer identities, we share far more things in common with you than you might think. I have always been, and remain, open to dialogue, and told several people at the event that I would gladly fly back to Austin to meet with Sheriff Coyne. Sheriff Coyne, I'm not mad at you. I do not dislike you, and I do not harbor ill feelings towards you. But I feel sorry for you, as you seem to feel that because I put on the uniform, I am not queer enough to be worthy of the compassion you extend to the rest of our community. I will close by saying this. At this time in history, it is more important than ever that we lift up and support two-spirit LGBTQ+ voices everywhere. For those intent on silencing our voices, have far more to gain from our division and far more to lose from our unity. Thank you.
Next up, we have Christian Mendoza speaking on item number 6. Christian, I'm not sure if you're speaking right now. If you're able to press *6 to unmute, we'll be able to hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Good evening, Commission. My name is Christian Mendoza, pronouns he, him, and I would like to speak on discussion item number 6 on today's agenda. I'm here speaking as a constituent, as a District 2 constituent, and not a City of Austin employee or representative of the city. As someone who proudly identifies as an undocumented Mexican-American gay male and having lived in Austin for approximately 25 years, I can say I've personally lived and witnessed unacceptable and positive experiences in our city, specifically interactions between police and the LGBTQ+ community. Recently, I attended the 4th World LGBTQIA+ Conference for Criminal Justice Professionals hosted in our city, as first kind conference to be hosted in the United States. The failures of law enforcement and its improvements over the years were addressed. Furthermore, the need to continue mending historically strained relations between both communities were a priority and discussed through several breakout sessions and a panel discussion. One particular panel discussion provoked mixed emotions, and I know some today can attest to that. Although I don't understand or can't even begin to imagine people's own lived experiences and trauma or how they felt during this panel discussion, I can at the very least acknowledge them. I know it's not easy. To this day, I myself struggle with my own past and current experiences. As an undocumented gay male who is working to become a police officer, I have learned about the history behind law enforcement as it involves the LGBTQ+ community through my previous work as the neighborhood liaison for the LGBTQ+ and immigrant communities, and understand the critical need and importance of having uncomfortable, deep-rooted, thought-provoking conversations, all with the goal of mitigating our conflict and emotion and strategically working to bridge gaps instead of widening them or closing doors for further dialogue, specifically in the current political climate we are in. I hope this international conference is not the end of this conversation. This conference serves as an example of the challenging and in-depth conversations we urgently need in our city, conversations that deeply affect members of the LGBTQ+ community and beyond. We're not perfect, we make mistakes. As criminal justice professionals who are part of or allies of the LGBTQ+ community, and government leaders look up to our city to learn how we handle these post-conference conversations, it is the perfect opportunity for City of Austin elected and appointed officials, including stakeholders, to not only serve as an example of how we address barriers and challenges for the betterment of our community, but also reflect the values of our city. The city that takes pride in being inclusive and embracing of all members of our LGBTQ+ community, regardless of profession, aspirations, or status, to name a few. Will not this critical role and responsibility, but it will continue to professionally and fairly represent our community as a whole, mentally and emotionally support each other, seek further dialogue in a safe environment, but most importantly of all, embrace our intersectionality. Thank you.
Next up is Sergeant Michael Wilmer-Crumrine speaking on item number 6.
Good afternoon or evening. My name is Michael Wilmer-Crumrine. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the president of the Lesbian and Gay Peace Officers Association. Chair Coyne, I want to thank you again for agreeing to be on a discussion panel at the 4th World LGBTQIA Conference for Criminal Justice Professionals. I echo the same sentiments many at that conference said to you that day, which is that we applaud your courage and bravery and willingness to be vulnerable in advising us on how some members of our community feel towards our profession. I read the email that you sent Mayor Pro Tem Fuentes about your experience at the conference. We acknowledge that experience and recognize it as your truth. I can say that most of the individuals in our session do not recall the experience as you described it in your email. The conversation about police officers participating in Pride is one that can be emotionally charged for members of our community, both those that are not in the criminal justice profession and those who are. This point was made clear by the moderator before the session began, and several times over the course of the hour-long dialogue. The moderator immediately stepped in and paused the conversation as tensions rose to check in on everyone. Having these difficult conversations takes courage and strength because they matter. They matter to the community as whole and to each person individually. Not every position or every opinion given will be received well by everyone, and that is okay. People have the right to dissent and to disagree loudly. The panel discussion showed us that this, in fact, is an emotionally charged issue. It also showed us there needs to be continued dialogue between criminal justice professionals and the community, and it also presented us with an opportunity. As leaders, we must meet these opportunities to engage in difficult conversations, to walk into uncomfortable environments, to be willing to patiently listen to someone else's opinion and talk with individuals, not talk at them. As leaders, it's also our job to fairly and honestly represent all sides of the community's interests and, as accurately as possible, relay those interests and opinions to the people who have the most influence in creating and sustaining community. People like the heads of systems, city council members, other government officials, community leaders, and the public. These discussions help build consensus and coalition and bridge the gap with the community we all have the privilege of serving. The members of the Lesbian and Gay Peace Officers Association and the Austin Police Department want to continue the dialogue. We want to remain engaged in conversations that are necessary and at times difficult, but also healing and purposeful. We want to work towards healing the community rather than dividing it. We are willing to have these conversations in whatever forum feels safest for everyone, be it public or private. I hope that you and this commission join us and remain engaged in these difficult conversations for the betterment of Austin's vibrant and diverse community. Thank you.
Last speaker on item 6, Matthew, and I apologize if I butchered this, non-Waller.
Close enough. Good evening, Commission. My name is Matthew Nonwaller. I'm a corporal with the Austin Police Department. I currently work patrolling the downtown district. I am not here representing the Austin Police Department. I am a member of the LGBTQIA. I am not here representing them. I was in attendance of this conference 2 weeks ago. In fact, I think I was the only member of the Austin Police Department that paid out of their own pocket to attend. I don't really want to give my opinion on what happened. I just want to give some facts about me there. I spoke with Chair Coyne on Wednesday. I spoke with Chair Coyne on Friday, and I was witness to what everyone else was talking about that happened on Friday. So on Wednesday, Chair Coyne was there, asked a question at the HRC campaign panel. And then I was unaware that you had become chair. Congratulations. I intercepted you afterwards because I was present for that very contentious April meeting that we were all here for. And I just wanted to let you know that I wanted to extend to you the invitation for me to tell you my story of intentional community policing down on 4th Street for about 6 years as an officer down there. You agreed, you said you would be back on Friday, and when you came back on Friday, traffic, whatever, you were running late. So that's all fine and well. The panel discussion happened. I recall that I think the triggering moment was a Canadian officer from Peel. Their anecdote was, we were talking about intersectionality, and he said that he pushed back on, he essentially said he identified more as a police officer because he knew he wanted to become a cop before he knew what gay was. And when he realized he was gay, he thought he could never become a cop because of the stigma attached to it. And then it wasn't until he saw a Toronto officer marching in pride with his partner that he realized that he could be both. To the best of my recollection, and please correct me if I get this wrong, Chair Coyne, you said something to the effect of that a lot of members of the community view that as the problem, that they would identify as an officer first. And then people started screaming bullshit, Sergeant Winters. We heard what they said. They stormed out. I left the room to basically talk with them, give them space to vent. And it was there that I learned, or at least the impression that I got, that their frustration was coming from a place of a trans woman being told how they should or shall be identified. So I let them have their space. Panel ended. I went down the elevator with you and stakeholder Davis. I still wanted to follow up with you from Wednesday to Friday, but I thought maybe this is not the best time. So I gave all of my personal contact information to stakeholder Davis to give to you. 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Thank you. And so once everyone had said their piece and there was a pause, I told you that, hey, I still wanted to have that conversation, that it was not my intention to debate you. I really just wanted to tell my story so that you would have a different perspective. And then I was in full uniform. I said, so whatever this means to you, I think this profession demands more self-control than was on display. And I apologize that you had to experience what you did. And then I went back to the conference. So that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you. And I actually can't respond until we get to the item later, but I appreciate the.
And next up we have Julian Reyes speaking on item number 5.
This is right here. I don't actually have item number 5 in front of me, but it was about the update from APD, I believe, right, to the commission here about the items we talked about in April's, where you could like cut the air with a knife. Yeah, so I was hoping someone was going to update us. We've been trying to talk to commissioners here and there saying, hey, where's the update? It's been months. been working with Dare to Struggle, haven't had a protest. The person, I don't know what happened with their charges. I know that the officer was allowed to quit to avoid accountability. Accountability is not just a word, it's a thing that's gonna happen, and you haven't seen it happen in a long time. Sergeant Yarger downtown, working with Matt Nonweiler back here, he abused me many times, falsely arrested me. He kept attacking the press, which is also an issue. And he got fired, and he's pled guilty to like 2 or 3 counts of official oppression and 2 or 3 counts of aggravate or of assault. So that's that way down here. He was able to quit. Also, no, he got fired, and he's going to do probation, so he's not going to go to jail. So accountability at least needs to be equal, if not more. I talk about, people keep using these keywords about bridging gaps and things in public safety, but I just want to say we have to really see who is it public safety for? Is it public safety for the people in the room that are low on melanin and maybe have a higher bank account than I do? Is it public safety for just the officers? Because when we use terms like, when we ignore, so I deal with communities on the streets, and I've filmed downtown for over 10 years, well, about 10 years. So downtown Austin Command. And I can tell you that there have been queer and trans people that have been beat up, that have been tased, that have been, and these are people who are usually being attacked by somebody, and then the police, they're trying to get away from it, and the police attack them. So that's public safety for whom? It's not for the LGBTQIA community, it's for the officers. When we talk about the Pulse nightclub, we had our own little Pulse nightclub here. It really wasn't. Basically, APD shot up a club, 2 clubs. There was a Lit Lounge in Soho. There was a black man. Okay, so who can have a weapon? Who can have a Second Amendment right in Texas, right? If you're of color, they're gonna shoot you. So there's just a whole difference here. So this person had a gun, supposedly, and they were trying to get into a bar, and they didn't get in. So didn't really break a law there. And APD found out, you can look at the video out online. This is the response you're asking for from the police. This is the public safety. They found out, and they all shot the guy. And they shot up 3 other people, and they killed 2 or 3 people. Some of the people were just drinking inside the bar. They didn't even control their backdrop. So when you say public safety, it's public safety for whom? It's not going to be for the people of color in this community. It's not going to be for minorities. It's going to be for the police. And this bridging the gap stuff it's all a lie. It's just keywords. They're just letting AI write their scripts and stuff. And like, we really have public safety issues. I'm a victim of police violence, and I've actually just won a lawsuit against the city for this stuff. Because I'm a member of the press, but they're getting away with it. There's like zero justice. And there's zero accountability. Until there is, no one's going to change. It's just lip service. All right, thank you.
And just since we gave Matthew an extra about 30 seconds, I want to be fair to everyone. You took a little extra time, and I know we have one more speaker, so just wanted to be clear that we'll be fair.
Next up, we have Brianna Arredondo speaking on item number 5.
Hi, commissioners. Can you hear me? Yes. I want to speak on number 5. Yeah, we haven't had an update. Chief of Staff Robin Henderson saying that she going to give an update on about what happened, and there's no update at all. And so. And bridging the gap, I keep hearing bridging the gap. The officers are saying, bridging the gap. Oh, we got to bridge the gap, bridge the gap. The bridge has already been burnt. The video's out there. The police didn't like the video being shown. The bridging the gap is not going to happen because where's the accountability at? Where's the accountability? If you want to bridge the gap, where's the accountability at? Then we can bridge the gap. The gap will be like, but the bridge is gone. The bridge is burnt. The APD burned the bridge between from the LGBT community and the police. The police proven time and time again that they're not for the queer community at all, and that they're not for the trans community. They're a disgrace. I'm sorry to say, but being brutally honest, they're a disgrace and they're disgusting. I'm sorry to say, but ACAP all day, every day. And, it doesn't matter what you identify as. You can identify as a trans officer, gay officer, black officer, Mexican officer. I want to be an officer. You're an officer first. You're an officer first. So you want to uphold oppression, white supremacy, racism. That's what you're upholding. And you want to uphold all the oppression against LGBT, the legislations that's been happening. When these laws, if they pass, gay officers will have to enforce that anti-LGBT bill, arrest gay people, go after drag queens, go after trans people, arrest them because they're doing drag, or they're being trans, or being gay, and those gay officers are a disgrace, and it's disgusting. And the gap is never gonna, the bridging the gap is never gonna happen, never. Without accountability, it's not gonna happen. The community, we lost trust in the Austin Police Department. They're gonna tell you, yeah, we want to work with the community, we want dialogue. We're done having dialogue, we're done. We wanna see action. Where's the action at? I'm calling out, I want to call the city council. Yeah, they made a statement, but we're gonna do investigation. There was no investigating. Resigning is not accountability. Putting him in jail, putting that officer Locken in jail, that's accountability. Not resigning, not suspension. 1 to 5 day suspension is not accountability. These OPO, they're a disgrace too. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who's come to
Doesn't matter
speak.
if they're gay.
Trans officer, sorry.
You're an officer.
Yes, next up, we have speaking on item 3, Google, and just as a reminder to those coming to speak, if you could please speak your name into the microphone as you begin your speech.
Hey, I just went over my legal, or I wrote down my legal name, but most of you know me as Haya. You've met me before, so hi, I'm Haya. Yeah, I wanted to speak because I've been to the Texas legislature several times during the regular and special sessions this year, and unfortunately, the writing on the wall suggests that the legislature will pass several bills that are discriminatory towards the queer community, specifically the trans community. The most pressing bill currently being considered is SB 8. And its companion bill in the House. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that several members of this committee have testified against that bill, and I want to thank them as well. Despite over 400 people testifying against SB 8, and when it was heard in the first special session, it is very likely, almost certainly likely, that this bill will pass and come to be. This is very disheartening, but it is expected. I want to ask the commission to apply pressure to Austin Police to make a statement that they will not be following the footsteps of several other states that have passed similar bills in doing invasive and illegal bathroom checks on gender nonconforming and trans women that are spotted in sex segregated spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms. The relationship between this commission and APD is a nuanced one, and I respect that, but it would be irresponsible for this room to not actively attempt to pressure APD to act with increased sensitivity to marginalized groups, especially with the community tensions being as heightened as they currently are. SB 8 and its companion bill are direct attacks on our community, and as it currently stands, our community is already facing increased risks of hate crimes and gender-based violence. APD could help alleviate these tensions by firmly and unequivocally stating that they will not perform genital inspections or go into sex-segregated spaces where they can avoid that. I ask APD to prioritize training and de-escalation to ensure officers respond to these calls with dignity and restraint. I ask the APD investigate any case in which an officer enters a bathroom to investigate the report of a trans or gender non-conforming person. I ask that APD does not bring violence into particularly women's restrooms, which we know face increased scrutiny and threats of violence when officers enter them. I ask that APD do not hold the thin blue line when it comes to assaults in bathrooms, which we have seen in other states. We've already seen in other states, even cis women are being impacted by bills that are targeted towards trans women. I think every member on this committee has seen those reports and is disheartened by them. I ask that because you have the relationship that you have with APD, where you are able to invite them to meetings like this, that you hold them accountable and you firmly and unequivocally ask that they make statements regarding this. I also ask that if there are incidents in the future in which an officer enters a sex-segregated space, that they are also held to account and that they are made to face questioning, that they are investigated fully. I ask that especially the queer members of APD that are present here this evening hold this statement to your heart and make that request within y'all's department as well, because you are invited to this chamber for hearing us out and hearing what the community has to say, and that means going back to APD and asking that they do these things. In addition, just while I have the extra time, I also ask that you urge Austin City Council at large to pass bills that protect people, or not pass bills, but pass city rules and ordinances that protect trans people in bathrooms. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that concludes us in the register for public comment.
Okay, now, thank you for everyone who came to speak. We'll move on to approval of minutes. Item number 1, approve the minutes of the LGBTQ Quality of Life Advisory Commission's regular meeting of July 21st, 2025.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Kruger,
I'll second.
second by Carey. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Any edits?
Not an edit on this one, but for our current, did KB drop today, or was that?
I meant to ask.
Yeah, KB's, I'm going to be updating the agenda template for next month's meeting to show that KB's is vacant. Should be vacant, but,
Any other questions, comments on minutes? All right, we're not gonna go around the horn for this one. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any recusing or abstaining, rather? Okay, motion passes. Moving on. Item number 2, we're into discussion items now. Presentation regarding progress on the LGBTQ Community Center feasibility study project in Atlanta, and discussion of insights for the City of Austin's LGBTQ+ Cultural Center feasibility study project. We are lucky enough to have Malik Brown from Atlanta here to present to us on the LGBTQ Community Center, LGBTQ Community Center Feasibility Study Project Director for the City of Atlanta and Fulton County Recreation Authority. Malik, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You can start whenever you want if you don't mind introducing yourself first, and thanks again. And we, I think, budgeted around 20 minutes or so for presentation and answer and questions, discussion, but if we take a little more time than that, that's okay.
Yeah, of course. I'll try to keep it brief on my end, and then really I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have. My name is Malik Brown. I use he, him pronouns. I am a lifelong resident of Atlanta, Georgia. I've spent maybe 12 years in LGBTQ advocacy. I did 7 years as the Director of LGBTQ Affairs for the City of Atlanta, so I advised our current mayor and the previous mayor on LGBTQ issues. Left that role at the end of last year to focus on this feasibility study. In a volunteer capacity, I've served on the Human Rights Campaign's National Board of Governors, and I am a current Board of Directors member of Rainbow Railroad, which is an international LGBTQ nonprofit, so I have spent a lot of time thinking about LGBTQ rights and how to move them and how to change them through some systems like municipal government. So really happy to have this conversation with you all. Atlanta is currently in a year-long feasibility study to examine the possibility, the vision, the interest of a community center. Atlanta has a pretty significant queer community. We are the largest metro in America without an LGBTQ community center. Our metro population is somewhere around 6.5 million. We are the LGBTQ capital of the South. A lot of people see us as the Black LGBTQ capital of the world, and just have really moved the needle on a lot of things and still have a lot of progress left to go. So I have actually never used WebEx before. I don't know if I can click through this PowerPoint, so this can help me. Yep. So a little bit of background. This study was commissioned by the mayor and the city council at the end of last year. It will go in through December. The feasibility study is done through an organization called the Atlanta Fulton County Recreation Authority. Every city has a recreation authority. It is separate from the Department of Parks and Rec, but here in Atlanta, we're sort of known for owning our
venue which the Hawks play in, which is our NBA team, and our zoo. Yeah, I think we can go to the next one. I already told you this, we are the largest metro in America without an LGBTQ community center, and through our research, we have found about north of 200 brick and mortar LGBTQ centers throughout America, but that is not concrete, but it's at least 200. It could be more. We can go to the next one. These are just some of the arguments that we're making. I'll let you guys sort of dive into it on your own time. But with such a huge queer city, it's overdue, given where we are just as a country and as a city, and Atlanta's sort of focus on human rights and civil rights and our place in this work. It would be an equitable intervention. And then beyond that, some of the things that we try study are both social and economic impact, from everything from tourism to cultural opportunities to mental health and wellness to physical and behavioral health. We're trying to sort of quantify all of that and how it would be beneficial to the city of Atlanta. Obviously, a lot of us as advocates, and then our partners on the government side, I think they understand the sort of emotional LGBTQ people need a hub argument, but we're just trying to quantify it a little bit more. We can go to the next slide. So our study is kind of really guided by 6 components. So I serve as the project director. It is my full-time job. I wake up every day and think about this study. Beyond that, we have an exploratory committee. It's made up of movers and shakers. It sounds like you all have something similar. It's 35 people across all sectors. So we have healthcare leaders, educators, business executives, nonprofit leaders, activists, entertainers, you name it. They serve as advisors to us, and they're broken up into 6 subcommittees, which we'll talk about in a second. Our community input survey is our biggest data collection method. That is where residents can go and tell us if they want an LGBTQ community center, what they would want out of it, what type of services and amenities should be prioritized, what neighborhoods they think it should be in, and just really any idea that they want to give us. Today we crossed the 1900 mark towards our 2000 goal. We have Black Pride is coming up here in Atlanta. That is Labor Day weekend, and then mid-October is Atlanta Pride. So we'll close our community input survey right after Atlanta Pride, probably like October 17th. This survey was launched at the end of March and goes through October, and so right now we're at 1900 of 2000, and assuming we hit our 2000 mark before Labor Day, we'll stretch the goal to 2500. One important thing about this, we've got a pro bono consulting firm that's helping us ensure that the responses match up to available census data. So some examples of that are like women make up 51% of Atlanta's population according to census data, and so obviously we should have at least 51% of women who have responded to the survey. Same on race, 47% of Atlanta residents are Black, and so we're just trying to match it up in that way. Very similar to how my background is also in political campaigns, when you do a poll and you try to make sure the sample size matches the demographic. In addition to that, we do a ton of roundtables. So we've done a roundtable for trans leaders, Black leaders, LGBTQ artists, women, historic preservationists, and we've got, I would say, probably 8 more before October for youth, AAPI people, Latinx people, elders. But this is really to try to get into some nuance. It's usually between like 15 to 20 people. And we're trying to have sort of deeper and nuanced conversations than the survey allows for. And we really try to prioritize identities and interests that are underrepresented in our survey responses. We just have been doing a year-long listening tour. We will grab coffee with anyone who asks us to. We also grab coffee with organizational leaders, activists, potential funders, and we just really, again, try to dive a little bit deeper than the survey allows, but really just have intimate and nuanced conversations about what this center could look like. We've got a research working group. I talked a little earlier about making a qualitative case in addition to the quantitative case. And so we've got a couple of professors who have come together, and they're just helping us get a little more granular. So if you built an LGBT center in Atlanta, you could expect that suicidal ideation among LGBTQ people is reduced by X percentage. Or if you built this in Midtown, you could see X percentage of businesses see a boost, or you could see a tourism boost of X. So we're just trying to quantify those things to help strengthen our case. And then we do a ton of site visits and peer learning. We tour, when we leave Atlanta, we're touring LGBTQ centers, and then in Atlanta, we tour centers that, I mean, it could be youth centers, senior centers, entrepreneurial centers, it doesn't have to be LGBTQ. And then when we've left Atlanta for places like LA, Chicago, Toronto, we're touring their LGBTQ centers. We're meeting with like leadership, we're touring the facilities. Chicago actually just hosted us 2 weeks ago for a 2-day meet and greet with like every department head. We're learning everything from like square footage to staff size to budget. That has been really, really helpful. Obviously, a lot of these organizations were formed right after Stonewall. So some of these organizations are over 50 years old. And so we have found that there's a lot of best practices and lessons learned from these organizations. So it's been pretty crucial to hear from them and to be able to take that knowledge on the front end of what could be the next LGBTQ community center that pops online. Next slide, please. So I told you about the sort of tenets of our feasibility study. This is the 6 subcommittees that make up our study. So built environment, that committee is really made up of historic preservationists, architects, real estate folks, developers, and they focus on site selection. So where it should physically be, what are the zoning requirements, construction cost and timeline, fundraising strategy and PR. We brought together some really impressive fundraisers from institutions and individual fundraisers. They help us understand what the philanthropic appetite is there and how much we could realistically raise to fund this center, especially its capital campaign. Cultural heritage is focused on, a big thing for us is some type of like queer history museum that is largely focused on Atlanta, but could obviously have some national exhibits as well. And so this subcommittee is made up of like historic preservationists, elders, just people who really, archivists, and this sort of talks about how you can use the center to sort of preserve and amplify queer history, both on a local and national level. Community engagement is really just making sure that we don't leave any stone unturned and that our residents know that this feasibility study is underway. I told you all that I have a background in local government and kind of watched how sometimes even when government is well-intentioned can sort of forget about the community engagement piece and kind of assume that they know what residents want. And so this is really focused on hearing directly from the residents, even if it just affirms what we were thinking. Our thesis there is 1, we want to hear their voices, and 2, the only way that a center like this can sustain itself is if everyone feels ownership in it, as opposed to it just feeling like it's something that the government threw up without input. Programming services and offerings is very literal. It's what would go into the center. So everything from conference room space, classrooms, event space, museum, coffee shop, gym, you name it, what would go in there. And then what would be operated by the center, what would be done on like a lease type relationship, and then what would be done in partnership with existing organizations. I suspect if Austin doesn't have a center yet, you're in a similar boat where you've probably got a ton of LGBTQ nonprofits already doing the work. And so the opportunity that it presents for us here in Atlanta is, instead of creating new services and replicating them and competing, how do we create a space where all of these existing services can kind of come together in like a one-stop shop kind of model? And then operations and sustainability is to try to get more granular on one, what it would cost to construct such a center, the revenue that we could expect coming in every year, and the expenses that we could expect going out every year. How many people would this center employ? What kind of roles are you looking at? And then how do you sustain? So, you know, right, people might be very excited about this in the next 5 years, but 20 years from now, it might not feel as new and as exciting. And so how do you build a model that sustains itself over time without having to raise an alarm? Next slide, please. A little highlights from our survey. Our community is very, very supportive of it. So far, 96% of our respondents are supportive of it, with 87 of them saying it's extremely important. Our top 6, we launched this survey at the end of March, and it has not changed. The top 6 has not changed. Mental health and counseling comes in at number 1. It's been super clear. Youth programs is right under that. A cultural museum, programs and activities for elders, legal aid and advocacy, and then event and performance space. So that top 6 has not changed. Some major considerations that our residents are asking for: ensuring that it's close to public transportation. And so every parcel that we're looking at is no further than 0.5 miles from a train station. And really everything that we're looking at is like 1 or 2 blocks from a bus stop, with some of the sites literally having a bus stop right out of it, right outside of it. And then proximity to both hubs where queer people convene in Atlanta, and then where there's some history. One of the sites we're looking at is a place that RuPaul performed in the 80s. And so obviously that just has a lot of history with it. We've got most of our respondents, no shocker, identify as LGBTQ, but we actually, I think the ally percentage is up to 14%. And that's really helpful as well, because obviously this center prioritizes unapologetically what LGBTQ people need, but I think we all are clear that allies can be helpful and supportive. And again, when we just talk about sustainability, we need as many people at the table as possible. About 60% of our respondents are from people who live in the city proper, so literally the city's geographic line. And then about 40% of those people live in our metro region, which is not technically served by our city government, but they're within 20 or 30 minutes, and they still claim Atlanta and still interact with our city government. So next slide, please. Yeah, that's it. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can follow any of these links, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all have, especially as you sort of seek to go on your own LGBTQ center adventure.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you being willing to come share with us, and it's clear y'all have done a lot of work, and I'm really impressed with especially the efforts to engage with the community and really have that be at front and center in community having agency about what the future of it looks like. I'm gonna go around and see if we have questions for Mr. Brown. I'm gonna keep it to 1 question per person, and if we have time, we can loop back around, but I feel it's likely that someone else might ask your second question. Okay, so we'll start with Commissioner Bandit.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, sorry, I always do this formal thing. Rocio.
No questions, I know.
Taylor?
No questions.
Jerry Joe.
Oh, how did you know I'd have questions? Thank you for your presentation. It's great to see you. I know we're in a kind of similar place. It's also great to see that our data for the community input survey that we conducted was also similar. So the needs in both of our cities are kind of in the same place. I will be reaching out to you for further conversations. My question would be, how did you navigate as an entity that is built between the county and the city, kind of getting both entities to work together?
That's a great question. I'll just be completely blunt. This initiative is like very much supported by the mayor. And so I think there's just a level of sort of like privilege and like people listen when the mayor says that something is important to him. Also, the Recreation Authority is literally an entity that works between the city and county. When I was in the mayor's office, it was a lot more difficult to sort of pull those two entities together for a number of reasons, but the Recreation Authority, our board of directors, 6 are mayoral appointees and 3 are county commissioners. And so I think it has, just by design, both parties are at the table. Transparency, we see a lot more support from the city side than we do the county side, but they're both at the table.
Morgan.
No questions.
Asher?
No questions.
Steve?
Just one question. Malik, thank you for being on our call this evening. We worked together 5 years ago on the national campaign, so it's good to see you still out there working on stuff. My question is specific to some of the funding mechanisms. Is there a nonprofit? Is there a foundation? What kind of is the thinking there in Atlanta as to secondary means away from taxpayer and bond funding to fund this initiative? And with that, thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the sort of like funding model that we're looking at is a third, a third, a third. So a third of the expectation would come from City of Atlanta. Another third we'd go out and sort of like raise through corporations and philanthropy. And then that final third would come from both large major donors as well as like grassroots and peer-to-peer fundraising. So that's the third makeup of it. The beginning of your question is probably the only thing that actually keeps me up at night on this study, just knowing the federal government's priorities changing and sort of norms for them. If the wish would be for this organization to be a 501c3 nonprofit, obviously that status is granted by the IRS. And so once the study is greenlit, we would apply for nonprofit status. I'd be lying to you if I said I thought that was a slam dunk, but we are gonna try and maybe get a little creative. Beyond that, I think there are some other levers that we can pull, whether our status gets either outright denied or delayed. You know, there are the community foundations of the world and the United Ways of the world. And so as we start fundraising for this center, we could become like a sponsored project of an existing nonprofit. We could hold a bank account with the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta or United Way. And so those major donors would still get their tax credit or break that they're looking for when they're making large gifts. But the goal is for this to be an independent 501c3 nonprofit. The city, even though the city is a champion in this project, the city would not have any operational decision-making in this center. And they would really sort of serve as a champion and a thought partner. The sort of offer that's on the table right now is that the mayor might get one board appointment to the center's board with approval by city council. But that's kind of it as far as that goes, and the rest would be just partnership and thought partnership. I hope that answers your question, but I'm happy to dive deeper if it doesn't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Skipping around a little bit. Scott, do you have anything?
Well,
Yeah, I can't go without at least Mr. Brown just saying thank you. I don't speak on behalf of your community, but I can only imagine how much time you've spent in this and on this. And so whoever I'm speaking on behalf of, I know you deserve it. So, you know, I've been trying to think about, if I have one question, what is it that, you know, speaks to me on this particular issue, given how early we are in this? I'm frankly curious what you're hearing so far from your LGBTQ historical businesses. How are they responding to this? Is this viewed as competition or building, and how are y'all addressing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So surprisingly, and I, again, come from local government where truly I felt like the complaint department for 7 years, and usually when you're in government, you're the person that everyone yells at and complains to. I think some of you might have had similar experiences, but we have not had really anyone sort of look at this as competition. There are some people who say we need to be careful with like funding, for example, that this center doesn't take away sort of like existing funding streams from smaller nonprofits. But with the business community, I think, you know, a couple of things come to mind. They want to see this space as like an incubator for small businesses and entrepreneurs. So they want those kinds of resources. So we're doing small things like a co-working space where entrepreneurs can come and work and have office space if they need it and meet peers. We'll have like a small commercial kitchen where like queer chefs and bakers can use if they've got orders. And so we're trying to sort of like, you know, we'll do programming around workforce development and other things, but we're not yet, we've got 4 months left. We haven't really seen any concerns about competition.
Shifting back over, Gary.
I was wondering.
Keeping you on your toes.
Mr. Brown, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Really appreciate it. How much money has the city of Atlanta put aside for this study, and are suburban cities involved in some way?
Yeah, good question. So the feasibility study itself, they allocated $150,000 for it. I will be honest that most of that was eaten up by my salary and benefits. And so we have a very small operational budget. I think the flip side of that is they get a day-to-day person who can be very creative and leverage relationships, but operational budget is probably less than $35,000. When we talk about how much they're willing to fund long-term, right now we are estimating that the center could cost somewhere around like $30 million in construction and operations, and then FF&E. We don't want to open the center with any debt or anything in the red. And then obviously we want to give it enough in operations that it can sustain itself for a while. And so the city has committed to a third of that. Obviously we're talking about a multi-year project. So next year would look like continuing my contract, bringing on a chief development officer to go out and start raising money, hiring architects. Right now, the architects that even talk to us are just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. But obviously we have to actually hire folks. And so, you know, we would need a round of money for that. Then we would need another round of money in 2027. And then in 2028, which is when we anticipate breaking ground if we're lucky, we would need more money, but that totals to 10 million, give or take, from the city over time.
Suburban cities.
Oh, yes, thank you. So Atlanta is really interesting in the way that, like, we are the capital, but our population is only 500,000 in city proper. Our metro goes up to 6.5 million. We are having conversations with all of our suburban areas because we know all of their residents will also be utilizing this place. they are less excited to make a financial investment in this. And so we're trying to get a little bit creative in how we engage them, because we do believe there is some responsibility given the regional appeal to this, but no one outside of Atlanta, outside of our senators, have sort of like said that they'll fund this yet.
Thank you. I wish we had y'all senators too.
We have good senators. We have very good senators.
Moving right along, Mariana. Thank you so much for being here. Commissioner Coyne, you're right. Two of my questions, my favorite questions, were already asked, which was, long-term financial viability, how you're planning on structuring that. That was really interesting to hear. And then the other was about budget and timeline for the feasibility study. So it's just interesting to compare where we are and where you are to see the similarities and differences. So I really thank you for that perspective. So another question that I'm curious about is the community input survey. Is that something that you yourself designed, or did you contract that out? And generally speaking, what's been the implementation, design and implementation strategy for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I designed the survey in partnership with our exploratory committee, and then in partnership with some of our pro bono partners. So our exploratory committee and I literally sat down and we sort of decided what questions were most important. Our survey is 7 to 10 minutes, so that's obviously not the most attractive to somebody who's trying to make 3 clicks and get off of their phone. And so we tried to get the most important data. There are some things that the survey couldn't keep going. Like, we didn't ask sort of like income level or sort of like interest in sort of like the paid amenities. So we definitely could have asked more questions, but it was done internally with our exploratory committee. Boston Consulting Group has been a really great pro bono partner, and so they also took a look at the survey, and frankly, they did their own much smaller survey the year before. I think it got around 300 responses. And so we utilize that data as well. But I would say it's been done in-house. I mean, it's literally on SurveyMonkey. I think we pay whatever the subscription fee is, and that's kind of been it. But I think it's been a pretty, I would say, grassroots effort.
Thank you. And then I think this is still in line with the single question, the marketing of that in terms of the implementation side.
Woo, absolutely. I will say we have probably seen our biggest hits. Any day that we see kind of more than 50 responses in a day means that we did something intentional. Our biggest hits have come from our press partners. So literally just local outlets. I'll tell you, we have gotten more responses from non-queer media than our local queer media. And I guess just because our non-queer media, obviously they have a bigger reach and more resources. Like I said, only 4% of people who have responded to the survey don't support the center. Some of that is valid. There's some level of homophobia, but I think it takes a certain level of commitment to take a 10-minute survey just because you sort of want to condemn the LGBTQ community. So press has been probably our biggest partner. We do a lot of collaborations with local nonprofits and bars. And so we found that them sending emails to their newsletter list, putting our flyers up in their bars. We got a pretty good, we spent about definitely less than $1,000, but we did some paid social media advertising, and it was pretty helpful as well. It definitely got several hundred responses. So I would say press, social media, and collaborating with existing partners has been sort of our best bet. And then everyone on our exploratory committee, we asked them to commit to getting 10 responses from their network. So whether it's asking your dentist to do it, your partner, your cousin, whatever it is, just using your own personal network to get some responses as well.
Great, thank you.
Vice Chair?
Yes, just want to say thank you so much for sharing. This has been incredibly insightful. I think also all of my questions have been asked. So yes, again, just thank you for being here, for sharing.
Thank you.
And I'll reiterate the big thanks, and I think we'll certainly want to re-engage. Right now, the structure of our work is we're undergoing a feasibility study here. We have a separate task force that this commission helped to develop recommendations for the city to compile. We've had our first meeting. I'm going to provide an update later tonight about what was covered just in that very initial meeting. We have funding for feasibility study to occur and a consultant on board to do that. But I'm sure that we'd like to continue our collaboration with y'all in similar points in this process and really learn from each other. And I can't wait to see and hopefully be there when this thing opens in Atlanta. So congratulations on being a part of that process, and thank you for all you're doing there. Logistical question before I let you go. Does Ryan, our liaison, have your presentation?
Yes.
It's uploaded to the web page, it's back up.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, so if anyone wants to view that in the future, it will be linked. Great, well, thanks again so much.
Of course, happy to be here. Can't wait to have y'all in Atlanta. Can't wait to be in Austin to help cut your ribbon, and I'm here when you need me.
Awesome, thanks again.
Thank you.
And next up, we have item number 3. Just a quick note while we're getting that uploaded. Is Miriam online? Oh, okay. It's maybe possible that Ledge is nuts and she can't join us. Do we know?
Yes, I haven't heard anything from Miriam since last week.
Okay. So that is possible. We can pivot if need be. Rocio will text Miriam about item 3, in which case we'll skip that for now. If we need to postpone it, we will. Item number 4, and just a quick note, I think we're going to move item 7 up to after 4. Item number 4, discussion regarding programming and opportunities to get involved with the City of Austin Welcome Week, including avenues for collaboration with the Commission on Immigrant Affairs. Just wanted to really briefly, I know she's not listed and this isn't a staff briefing, so this is a very FYI comment that I'm asking of our Human Rights Officer, Shafina. If you could just give us a heads up, you're going to have some more content for us that Ryan will forward on about Welcoming Week on this, right?
Yes, always happy for a question. Yes, we do have Welcoming Week coming up. I think I shared about it last time I was here. Shafina Kaki, she, her pronouns, Human Rights Officer for the City of Austin, and then also exec liaison to this commission. I'm really excited to say we're going to be having our first citywide Welcoming Week. This year being the stories we share, which I think is very attuned to our climate right now. Just for dates right now, it's September 12th through the 21st. I will be happily sharing emails and flyers and information to all of you. We have events every single day, both City of Austin events, partnership events, etc. I think there's so many opportunities for all of us here to get involved. Always happy to share that information and to connect on that. So I'll leave it at that, and then I'll forward you the email. Brian will definitely get the email as well, and then we can spread it outwards. And if any of you wish to get involved, like I said in the past, please always welcome you for that. So.
Thank you so much. We just wanted to make sure that this was visible to folks, so it's on the agenda. Expect that email. And then just one other item here as it relates to Welcoming Week. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Is that we've had multiple conversations about working with Commission on Immigrant Affairs, and Jerry Joe is timely in his return. We had hoped that they would be at our last meeting, a couple of folks speaking on their own behalf, not on behalf of Immigrant Affairs, and had some technical difficulties and personal reasons that didn't happen, but I'm actually going to ask that moving forward, maybe we take the conversation to the Community Safety Working Group and maybe invite some of the folks from that commission to the working group to discuss specifically community safety in the context of immigration and immigrant affairs. Does that make sense to you as chair of that working group?
Yes, absolutely, and it's something you discussed of Know Your Rights training to be included as part of that whole process and a possible eventual town hall.
Great. All right, so I was gonna try to not have too much discussion on this item unless there's anything urgent. Does anyone have anything that needs to be said on this, or can we make up a little bit of time? Okay, great. Moving on, we're gonna skip just down to 7, then we'll come back to 5. 7, update regarding the City of Austin's FY 2025 to 2026 budget as related to commission recommendations. I'd ask Steve to be able to have some talking points on that. So I'm gonna hand it over to Commissioner Rivas.
Thank you, Chair. This has been an amazing week because what we learned was that a primary goal of this commission is to secure funding for HIV and STI programs. We were successful. So I'd like to just recap and say that on August 14th, the City Council, on a vote of 10-1, passed a $6.3 billion budget along with a TRE. That's will go to the voters for tax rate approval. That happens anytime we go over a cap. In Austin, we're looking at over a nickel for that tax program. And so what I'll talk about the programs on the next slide are those that we were successful in attaining. So if I can have the next slide, please. Our budget passage was successful in securing $850,000 through the TRE. So we do have an election. We do need to pass in November with the voters in order to move forward with this. We were able to secure some $800,000 for HIV and STI prevention and testing. Now, there are some caveats with that. Some members of the community, myself included, had asked for $800,000 to go directly to a community partner. That would be a third party outside City of Austin health partner. There were some FTEs, like amendments added to that. They came from Austin Public Health, so the money split. But we have an opportunity, and we're working with some council members, mine specifically. Shout out to Council Member Jose Velasquez and his amazing team. We will be working on how to make sure that funding, as much as possible of it, can go to those community partners. We were also able to secure $50,000 in that tax rate election proposal so that we can have some money for what we now refer to as MPOX. This was a key priority for so many of us in, not just on the commission, but in the community at large. And I want to give a shout out to our chair, Casey and Jerry Joe, who took time out of their day to speak in front of the council and express the concerns they had personally and those concerns that had been shared with them. And I know that made a profound difference. And I also want to recognize, as a member of this commission, those individuals on the dais that made a profound difference in supporting these. And that's Mayor Pro Tem Vanessa Fuentes, our Council Member Chito Vela, Council Member Jose Velasquez, Council Member Zohid Quadri. Zoe actually asked for $900,000 for our program funding, but we didn't secure that. Am I missing someone? I think Ryan Alter's staff was tremendous. And, you know, these are individuals that care deeply about what we as a commission bring to them as important items for them to push forward. And candidly, we came together in a very short amount of time and have made a profound difference. And I know that we can work together moving forward on a different timeline to get ahead of some of these issues. For example, I wasn't aware of the FTEs until after the passage of the budget, and I'll be a little bit more on top of that next time. I can have the final slide. We have obviously a public health need in Austin. Getting up-to-date data to this commission and any other related board is critical for us to stay on top of all of the community needs from a public health perspective, especially as we approach October. We had at our last meeting a presentation from Austin Public Health. They're expressed, they know there could be some cuts at the federal level. And I believe that as a priority moving forward, not at next meeting, but the meeting afterwards, I can provide a little bit better update on how we're working towards that $800,000 distribution of money, and maybe a better timeline moving forward that we can collectively as a commission work on to make sure that we're working towards the next budget cycle together. And with that, I can conclude my presentation and answer any questions. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Steve. And I also just want to mention as well, just really quickly, that we passed recommendations as a commission that directly led to some of these outcomes. We passed 5 budget recommendations in March.
I think March.
Yeah, March sounds right. 5 budget recommendations in March from a working group that was put together that the $200,000 grant program, that is directly from ideation that came from those meetings. The support for HIV, STI testing, and MPOX all were included in recommendations that we made as a commission that now have translated to action that council has heard us on. So I want to be really clear that we can be effective, especially when we follow through on these things, and I'm impressed with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Questions or comments for Steve? Scott, and then Jerry Joe, and then Gary.
So Steve, you know, the 800,000 that clearly got divided in half, 400,000 to the city. Is there specific instructions on how APH is supposed to or limited on spending it, or can it just go into the general fund for their budget?
So the question specifically is how will we use the divided funding from the 800,000, and it's like about a 55, I think 40% split, with APH getting the maybe 45% of that. We can direct that through a council resolution, and as I mentioned, Councilmember Velasquez will be working with me and any other commissioners that approach your council member to write a resolution that will help direct all, if not more, of that money as it was allocated. I can say it's different than like the legislature. There's not a conference committee that kind of comes together to seek a resolution. So we'll literally have to have a council resolution passed. But I know that there is good intent. There's a lot of goodwill, and I'm relatively certain that we'll be able to get a resolution passed that will program or put forth program money for an outside partner, almost all of that. At least that's our goal. So the short answer is the no easy way to get there. It's going to be a little bit more hard work, and I think the meeting after next, I'll be able to provide that update. I'll certainly be keeping everyone up to date, sending Ryan updates to forward on.
And I guess to follow up on that, the 200,000 resolution that we recommend, or the recommendation that we sent out was pretty specific. I remember, drafting a good portion of that, and we took some edits from Casey on a few things as well. My understanding from what I heard is that full recommendation was passed as it was.
So I just want to be clear. The one item that we did not get was the $200,000 for the transfer. And the reason for that is it's not that it wasn't for lack of this body trying. I believe that there was a lot more effort put towards the HIV, STI, and MPOX vaccination from the community at large. We had people writing letters, calling council member offices at the mayor's office. But there was clearly an issue there. We do have a budget item, it's 102, and it's coming up next week. And Councilmember Alter's staff is asking the city manager to help us seek that funding, specifically because this commission had asked for that. We weren't able to get that into the tax rate election, but we think there might be some funding where we can get close to that number.
Yeah, just to be clear, that was the feedback I got as well, is that they're moving money to create it, but it's not a separate line item in the budget that was approved. So I'm still counting that as a win, but there may be some more advocacy that is necessary.
There's going to be a little bit more work on that for sure. And thank you for asking that question.
Okay.
Giorgio.
Yes, and since we have the vice chair from the JIC Commission here, Commissioner Bondi, I would like to point out that these resolutions also passed concurrently in the JIC, so that was another place that our advocacy was felt. And so I would like to recognize Commissioner Bondy for also helping us shepherd that process.
Thanks, Jerry Joe. I appreciate the reminder. Gary.
I have a quick update on another budget item that this commission put forth, and that's on the historical marker, the $45,000 that was requested for the marker is in the budget. So onward and upward. So very excited about that.
Thank you, Gary. Mariana, and then anyone else? Just so I can keep I was gonna say dance card.
Yeah.
Mariana, you're next on the dance card.
Of course I am. I just wanted to, without any doubt, just wanted to clarify so I know whom to thank. So with the funding amendments, the $200,000 for the trans crisis housing, which council member put forward that amendment?
So currently leading on that is Councilmember Ryan Alter.
Ryan Alter. And then the HIV STI prevention, was that Councilmember Velasquez?
So that was a there were 4 electeds on that. It was Mayor Pro Tem Vanessa Fuentes, Councilmember Chito Vela, Jose Velasquez, as well as Councilmember Ryan Alter that led on that.
Great.
We also had support from Zohib's office, although he did push for an extra $100,000 for us, so on his amendment.
Great. And then lastly, the $50K for MPOX. Oh, led by Fuentes. I see that.
Mayor Pro Tem led on that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I actually just want to give a quick shout out because Mo from Councilmember Velasquez's office actually, I think, was incredible on the staff effort side in making that thing happen, the $800,000 happen. So big shout out also to council staff.
Big shout out. Yeah. And to Gary Brown. Thank you.
Yes. Anything else on budget? Vice Chair.
Really quickly wanted to take a moment and acknowledge Scott and all the effort that it takes to lead up and share all of the work that goes into making all of these recommendations. So thank you for being a huge part of bringing this to fruition.
If I could just say to the new leadership, get ready now. I was going to say that before you said that, but get ready now.
Actually, that probably needs to be a future agenda item to start talking about a working group for budget to start talking this fall so that by next March we have recommendations again. So can we please add that to our future agenda item tab that we work from? Cool. I will make sure to bring that up again, but we'll make sure it's in our tracker of future agenda items too. Okay, moving right along. All right, now we are on item number 5, discussion regarding Austin Police Department responses to commissioner questions at the April 2025 commission meeting. And I want to preface this by saying these are responses from questions and follow-up that we asked for in April. We received them on August 8th from APD. I have them so that we can pull them up. Our staff liaison is going to have them posted just for public consumption tomorrow by 10, so these will be online. I wanted to be able to kind of walk through them together, but also say that if we have this discussion go on really long, we probably should punt it to community safety. Does that sound right to you as well, as Chair, Jerry Joe? Okay. So just walking through these a little bit, just any. So we had a handful of different categories of questions that we asked in April. We asked for follow-up on details about LGBTQIA plus specific training for officers, including transgender sensitivity, cultural competency, etc., ways to engage with trans individuals and other marginalized groups. This is not exhaustive. You can see APD responses in blue. There's 2 hours of LGBTQ plus training that officers receive. Multiculturalism and community relations, 8 hours of training on that. Understanding transgender, a community-oriented approach for law enforcement. That's a 3-hour training. It's a subset of classes. And I don't know that I should read through all of that. Thank you for making that bigger. That was a strain. And there's a list of some other courses that are related to courses that have been developed for marginalized groups here that they've listed along with the hours. And so we have some responses on some of the most pertinent training that APD receives. Can you scroll down? And I'll walk through this, and maybe at the very end, if there's discussion, questions, follow up. Really follow up that if you're not on community safety, you want community safety to address. Maybe that's kind of how we should frame our discussion, but it felt important for all of us to just know what these responses were. Community engagement and liaison activities. We asked about clarification on the LGBTQIA+ liaison position within APD, and whether that role is filled specifically by an LGBTQIA+ officer. It's not filled by an APD officer, instead it's held by a civilian staff member. So that's with the Office of Community Liaison, and APD is currently evaluating formalizing a liaison program for officers. So that could be something that the working group could talk about. We asked about use of force. Just to provide some context, this was really close to the video of the trans woman being slammed into the ground on Red River. We were asking a lot about how police determine use of force and appropriateness of force. So, I'm sorry. Can you go up just real quick? Oh yeah, so we asked for statistics. We asked for cases of excessive force, how they were handled. Thank you. Also a request for data on how often officers are held accountable. We got a response that was not really a response. We don't track it, is the response we got. We don't track people's sexual orientation or their trans cisgender status, so there's not a way to generate an accurate report. I think I asked this question actually. I would love to just know this generally, even, not even specific to LGBTQ community. They outlined some policies. I actually don't know why those aren't in blue. I think they are probably part of their response.
I believe that only the portions that are in blue are part of APD's response. The other portions are what Vice Chair McCall and I drafted.
Oh, okay.
As the related policies and stuff.
Okay. All right. So let me just move on to 4 then. We asked for follow-up about the current status of investigations into incidences, and especially related to involving excessive force, particularly those involving trans women in the video. We requested an updated press release to provide clear and accurate update on the ongoing investigation. Let's see. So their response included talking about the term excessive force, often used broadly in public discourse within their department, and under established legal standards, it has a specific definition, namely force that exceeds what is objectively reasonable under the circumstances. And that is part of what we heard in that meeting. The response to resistant incident involving the individual referenced in the video was thoroughly reviewed, according to APD, by their force review unit and determined to be within both department policy and applicable law. As such, it does not meet the definition of excessive force according to APD. That is their response on that. 5, transparency and communication. We asked for an opportunity to improve transparency, make the results of investigations more publicly available, etc. And we also asked for incidents. According to APD, all personnel files are now public. Once an investigation is complete, findings related to formal internal investigations can be found on the Office of Police Oversight website. So they provided some links that you can access to review findings related to formal internal investigations. Oh, are they not links? I thought they were links.
You can't even tell the officer's name.
Okay.
That's cool.
Apparently, you can find them on the website under those 2 categories. These are not links. Okay. 6, LGBTQIA+ rights and state laws. We wanted clarification on how APD would respond, and we've just heard from, during public comment from community members who are citing what's happening at the legislature around anti-queer, anti-trans, LGBTQ laws. So we were talking about whether or not APD officers would enforce anti-queer, anti-LGBTQ laws in the future. APD responded and said that they have a responsibility to protect rights and pursue justice for all members of our community, and they have a robust policy that strictly prohibits racial or bias-based profiling, and that the policy prohibits law enforcement action solely based on an individual's gender identity or sexual orientation. 7, complaints and discipline. All right, so we asked for statistics on how often officers are disciplined. We also wanted to understand a little bit more how often officers are held accountable for misconduct, especially as it relates to trans-related incidents. Internal Affairs with APD can provide this data, but they do not currently track LGBTQ+ status, so we can't segment the data based on how it impacts our community specifically because of how that data is collected. Findings related to formal internal investigations, again, they're citing Office of Police Oversight website. Reimagining public safety. We're almost done, right? 8 and then a few more pages. It felt important to go through this in this way, y'all. I hope that you're on the same page with me. Reimagining public safety. We asked about reimagining public safety, especially regarding the role of police in LGBTQIA+ community spaces. We voiced concern about how safety could be maintained without the presence of police at certain events, like pride parades, drag shows, etc. And they responded and said that these events are managed similarly to other large-scale events hosted in Austin. They coordinate with local area commanders, special events unit, etc., other city departments to assist with providing safety to include Austin transportation and pace. So it doesn't sound like there's quite an outlet for alternate safety provisions at events, at least large scale. 9, data tracking. We've covered this a few times already. This specifically is speaking to hate crimes. So we asked for more data on hate crimes, specifically for our community. Department tracks involving bias for hate crime nexus, and we asked for more details. The City of Austin maintains a public-facing dashboard. I don't know what a dashing board is. We're a dashing board. So good with that board. Dashboard that tracks hate-related crimes can be found at Austin Against Hate, and so that is accessible online. Okay, what else? I think you can keep going. 10, okay. Complaint process and community engagement. We asked about organizing town hall. This is something that we are pitching to our community safety working group to actually organize a community safety town hall, and also with an opportunity to have a forum for community police relations dialogue, especially as it relates to trans folks. APD responded and said that they have expressed openness. They would like to engage in these discussions. They would be committed to listening, fostering dialogue, and that we can schedule a town hall with the chief. And they gave us contact info for her assistant. I've also just anecdotally, Sergeant Crumrine has re-expressed that interest tonight to me personally before the meeting. I know APD is willing to be at the table for that, and I think it's just a matter of us planning it. Keep going. All right, a few more. How many personnel are assigned to reviewing G-file reports? Sorry, I can't see. Approximately 20 to 30 people are assisting in the review of G-file reports. Personnel assisting in these reviews have other responsibilities and are not assigned to G-file review on a full-time basis. When will the Community Police Review Commission begin meeting? So this was something that came up at that meeting. They had it at the April meeting when we asked these questions. This commission hadn't met yet. They began meeting May of 2025, and there is more information online at the austintexas.gov page related to the Community Police Review Commission. We asked about how many force incidences that APD has per year, how many are classified as excessive use of force, and does APD have any goals for reduction in the number of excessive use of force cases per year? Their responses that the research forum. It's been proven to reduce the use of force incidences on other agencies. Keep going. They place an emphasis on active bystandership for law enforcement, which is another training program. And they are currently in the process of revising their methodology for reporting use of force data, and they have suspended the release of all of that data to external entities as part of that transition. This change apparently can be documented as discussed on the Public Safety Committee meeting, a special called meeting on May 19th. And they did provide some analysis resource related to use of force. Anything, and then we asked about an update on the press release regarding the March 2nd incident on 6th Street. And the press release regarding the incident can be found at, is this a link?
No,
Oh.
there's no update.
Okay.
They lied.
And there are no additional updates on that.
Promised to update it.
Update regarding APD officers asking if people are male or female. They provided a statute. If the gender of the individual needing to be searched comes into question, officers should respectfully inquire as to whether the individual identifies as trans. When an individual self-identifies as trans, officers will not question this identity absent articulable, compelling reasons, nor will any officer inquire about intimate details of an individual's anatomy to determine gender. Officers needing to search a person who has disclosed that, or the officer recognizes by prior knowledge the individual is transgender, intersex, and or I'm going to assume that means gender non-binary or gender non-conforming, should, when practicable, conduct the search based on the gender with which the individual identifies. For example, a female to male individual, when practical, be searched by a male officer or vice versa. That is their policy on that. And they also provided context for all of their policies and where those can be found. Not a link. Not a link. All right. Last page. Also, just of note, these meetings are recorded only by audio, and that's also part of why I'm reading it. We have more interest in folks who want to review these meetings later. I know this is going to be available as a link, but yeah. Update regarding the code enforcement incident on 4th Street last month. Is there body cam footage? They are deferring to code enforcement for questions regarding their actions. And then we asked about the composition of APD internal oversight committees. APD has multiple internal committees, but the ones related to this thread of question are the Hate Crimes Committee and the R2R Audit Group. And they've outlined what those two groups are. Okay, it's okay. I don't know that I need to go into those details. Did I miss anything that was critical, the Vice Chair?
No, I don't know. I don't know if it was stated, this is on page 4 as well. APD tracks incidents with potential hate crime nexus and victim service units, but also the Safe Place Initiative was mentioned, and there's more information on the Safe Place Initiative and how you can participate. That can be found at APD's Safe Place. Response improvement.
So I'm going to go around and ask for one question per person, at least in the first round, and just again reiterating that we can push further conversation in this the working group. I'm going to start to my left here. Mariana.
All right, I was just about to pull something up. Thank you. Yeah, thank you to everyone who participated in this. I think this is really helpful for the public to have this information. I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that City Council has recently approved the readoption of the Hate Crimes Task Force, and this was the name that I didn't want to get wrong, so again, don't quote me on this, but I know this is just in the last month. So I'm curious to see how that unit will impact some of the data-related questions that we had. And that's all I got. Thank you.
According to Google, it is Hate Crimes Task Well, okay, I shouldn't actually. Someone else can look it up and we'll make sure we get it right before we close discussion. Gary.
Just a process question for something as important as this was. Can you tell me why this wasn't part of the backup that was listed for the meeting tonight? Because I would have liked to have seen this before the meeting.
I think miscommunication on our part. We didn't communicate it directly with Ryan. We've had it since the 8th. We forwarded it to the working group and made a decision to include it in the agenda last week. And so I think miscommunication on our part. I'll take accountability for it.
Okay, that's fine. I don't want to blame anybody. I just want, you know, that something like this to be posted somewhere or at least sent to us before a meeting so we can peruse it at our leisure and make notes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other comment or question? That didn't count.
Just another sort of process question for Ryan and it's not specifically on this deal, but like, can we on each deal that's on the agenda, can you list who the sponsor is and the co-sponsor?
It's not standard to the board and commission's agenda template, but I can check in with my supervisor.
That'd be great.
And I think we could also, even if we can't do that, Kitty and I can start including it in the officer notes that we send out. That is the explainer. You've seen those,
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
assuming.
for
So
sure.
like, just for members of the public, Vice Chair and I provide a non-city jargon version of why are we talking about this to commissioners the week before.
Yeah.
And so we can start to include that in that table.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Steve.
Well, thank you for the presentation, and I was privileged to this information via email earlier. I do want to note, this is an official City of Austin commission. Any board and commission, whether we have someone from Austin Water or Austin Energy, let alone the police department, tell us that we are members of the public and that we have to fill out a PIR to get information is unacceptable. It shouldn't take this long for an international incident to have a room full of individuals approved to be in this room by the mayor and city council to get an update so lengthy. And we've had other incidents that have occurred. So I'm gonna punt to the public safety group because we've talked about some different ways that things are going to change in the city of Austin. That includes changes to forms on the RMS field and optional and non-optional questions that we'll ask the citizenry. So thank you for the update. I look forward to the rest of this conversation.
Thank you, Steve. Asher?
Just, can we get this sent to everyone now? Like, so we can peruse it somewhere later?
Yeah, sure, I'll send it to the commission.
Thank you.
And just to reiterate, it will be posted by 10 tomorrow for members of the public. I'm sorry that it wasn't posted ahead of time. Morgan.
Can anyone audit their safety group meetings? Or does it have to be?
Yeah, they know we're sitting.
As long as we don't meet a quorum of commissioners. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you could just become a new working group member.
Absolutely, come in.
Giorgio.
I'll add you to our mailer. Yeah, I think this is great that we got this information, even though it was delayed. To note that we have also, the working group has been engaging actively with the Office of Police Oversight to try to enact some of these changes as we on this commission see them, to make sure that we're following up, that there's conversations with other folks, and a lot of folks are on board. I think these are common sense changes, but ways that we can really make our community be heard.
Thanks, Giorgio. Taylor.
No questions at the moment, I don't think, thank you.
Lucia.
Not really a question, but honestly, I'm glad y'all went through that in detail, but it really pissed me off because we didn't get any answers, and it's infuriating. And I think we should push harder. I agree, we shouldn't have to ask for a PIR. That's ridiculous. And none of that information was new. They told us all of that when they were here. And if it took them that long to send it to us, that's not acceptable. And it really pissed me off. And I think we need to push harder, and we can't let up at all. Like, this is super important. And if they want to bridge the gap that they've been talking about, they need to do better than that. That's all.
Thank you. Scott?
Well, I'm trying a couple things. I know one comment. I'm just going to, in the process of thinking about how we had 13 hate crimes this year and haven't really heard everything about them all, that was beginning in my first point. I just need a little help because, again, I did not see this before this meeting. What I'm a little, something caught my eye, and I see that we had it did have to do with excessive force, but we had a withholding of data on how many times of excessive force that they've had so far this year. And then what I saw was a particular commission, a relevant body, actually went into special session, had a special call meeting on May 19th. Do we have, what I looked up just recently, like right now, is the Public Safety Commission, but there's nothing on their city page referring to a specially called meeting on May 19th. And so I'm a little curious about that and what the agenda was.
Are you thinking of the Community Police Review Commission?
Well, I wasn't sure.
This was they meant refer to the Public Safety Committee, not Public Safety Commission. It's a committee of council.
Okay, great. So that's a special call session, so that's not public. Okay, got it. And I'm done. Thank you.
Scott? Bridget?
Yeah, I just have to reiterate how disappointing these answers are, and it doesn't seem to really give any more information than the conversation that we had months ago, and the fact that it took this long is really disappointing and unacceptable. I do have to say that it was really difficult to hear them say in the press release that it was all within their finding or whatnot, but then while they were sitting here talking to us saying, oh, it's still being investigated. And then whenever we asked to get that press release adjusted, they still refused to do so. And it does also make me think about what happened just this past week, where they misidentified a trans woman, and then whenever they went to identify her properly on social media with press, they misgendered her, dead named her, and used a photo of the shooter, and it caused a lot of confusion. So there needs to be way more accountability and conversation in the way that these press releases and the way that they talk about the LGBTQ community to the press. Yeah, there needs to be more accountability in that. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Question and comment, I guess, is on page 4 under Reimagine Public Safety. There, within this one point, is a lot to be said about large-scale events that happen within Austin, but the main question was asking for transparency on the Reimagine Public Safety initiative that had taken place with APD, and more about the findings of that particular initiative. I took it upon myself to go via public records to inquire more about this, and received an invoice to the tune of $428.34 to get information regarding Reimagine Public Safety. So I think that's where my question is where are the results of this work that was done with community? And why is there nowhere to find it? And why is there no update within here when that was the main point of question number 8? Especially when 8 is my favorite number.
Thank you, Kitty. I have to say I shared some of the disappointment in the responses and the timeline. 4 months is a long time, and we asked via our staff liaison for this response. It's something that we continue to check in on when we met in our meetings and still have not gotten a response. It's a long time to be waiting on responses and then get responses that don't really tell us more than what we've already heard. And so I would hope that if the working group agrees that this is something that can be on the next agenda in addition to continuing having some conversations about all of the other pieces of that working group. But it sounds like there is some follow-up, if I'm hearing correctly, that we want a little bit more information. But I'd really like this to be a part of the continued discussion amongst ourselves, but also with APD on our expectations about what accountability looks like. Jerry Joe?
Yes, and if I may make a suggestion for future business, that we partner with the Public Safety Commission as the Boston Police Chiefs attend those meetings. They do report to them, they have an oversight function. It could be a place that we as a commission can work jointly. I'm happy to lead on that through the Public Safety Working Group, but I think that's a place that we can continue to enact changes and partner.
Thank you. And Jerry Joe, I know a lot of items of our focus right now are community safety focus, and I know that that means that you chairing that working group is a heavy lift, so thank you for doing that. If there's any renewed interest in that working group, feel free to get in touch. Yeah. All right, anything else on that item before we move on? Scott?
I guess, just been thinking, and I don't know if, frankly, I don't know if I should open my mouth, but it just seems, I guess, that if I could, sum it up, it seems as though there's some tone deafness, and that may just be a very insensitive way of describing it, and not enough justice on many counts. But I would just bring my thought and experience so far to this commission and challenge it to find the most effective way to get buy-in and effective change, because I feel that, I know we're trying to do the best that we can to, and that may not be the most effective way, I don't know, but it's a big challenge that, I handed off in the sense as chair, and to me that's the thought that I still don't have an answer to, and what I've tried to do on my own part hasn't worked very well. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Scott. Any closing thoughts before we move on to the next item? Also on policing, sort of. Okay, all right, moving on to item number 6, discussion regarding, just actually really quickly, Rocio, did you hear from Miriam?
No.
All right, do we need a motion to postpone 3 or?
It could be withdrawn if there's no objection.
I can also give you a brief update if you'd like.